So down in Texas, we got hogs. And so for hogs, you need a thermal. This is the AGM Rattler V2. It's the 50 millimeter by 640. And I've had this now for 5 or 6 months. And I know the V3 is out, but not everybody can afford that V3. So a lot of people are going to the V2 to check it out. And I've had this, like I said, for 5 months. And I figured I'd give a review. Since the prices are coming down on these, they're gonna get, more people are gonna look at this as a viable option. You know, I started out with I guess it was the V1, it wasn't called that then. The resolution, I think I've tried all of them. But when I got to the 640, man, I loved the 640. You can actually see stuff, you can identify what you're looking at. But when it came to the objective lens, that's either the 35 or the 50, and I wasn't sure which one to get. So the 35 gives you a wider frame. So if I was just spotting, I might want to use my 35. But when you actually go to shoot and hunt, I liked the 50 a little bit better because it has just a little bit more zoom, more clarity on that zoom. I have loved this scope, but there's a few things I don't like. Mainly, the thing is, I don't like these buttons. I can't tell, they're not lit, so I don't know what button is what in the dark. I can't see what that is. You know, if all the lights were out, I can't tell what this is. So you have to have this memorized, and I don't memorize buttons, especially like when you see something, you want to, you know, hit the right button. You know, it's, you know, seconds, and I don't want to be fiddling with all the little buttons. So that was probably my biggest gripe about this. V2s, one of the things that they don't have is they don't have a ballistics calculator. That's not the end of the world. You know, most of my shots are going to be inside 100 yards anyways. If it's more than 100, I'm just going to get closer to it. You know, it means the hog's a little too far away. I want to get closer and make sure I hit it. So I haven't been too worried about the ballistics calculator. But the clarity is really nice. You know, I have the Mars one leaf, and when you compare the two, this one is better. It's the same, you know, 50 millimeter, 640, but this one's a little bit clearer. I'm not saying anything bad about that one, but this one just looks a little bit better. But the price tag is a lot more for this. So you're going to be paying for that, just a little bit more clarity. The battery, I don't know. At first, I kind of like it. I kind of don't. Here it is. So it's a proprietary, but it lasts really well. You know, I do take 2 of them just in case, because I haven't charged it. I don't really have a problem with the battery life with this, so it's not the end of the world. My other favorite feature is the app that AGM makes for this. The app actually works really well. If I want to look at the footage of something I just shot to see, like, you know, did I miss? You know, what happened? Or I'm super excited, like, hey, that thing went down. I got to go check it out. I can pull it up with the app super fast. I actually really, really like the app and how quickly I can pull footage off and put it right on my phone. Another thing, I know this sounds a little weird, but once you've used other scopes, this eyepiece, this rubber feels really nice. When I use the one leaf, it's just kind of flimsy and just like, not that great. But this one, I like that. Whenever it's up against my eye, I know, I don't know. It's just something that you wouldn't think of until you use other scopes and you realize how well this one is made. It does feel durable. It's maybe a little on the heavy side, but that doesn't bother me. And you twist that to focus, twist this to focus. The other thing I don't like is I really don't like the menu that much. The menu, and maybe it's just these buttons. The buttons make it hard to navigate the menu. You know, the features inside of it are really great. I love those, but it's hard to get to the features because of these weird, awkward buttons. You know, it just feels strange. And I'm always getting stuck in the menus, I feel like, especially when I'm trying to get out. Like, how do I get out of the freaking menu? The cons I would say to this is the price is a little bit on the high side, even though that the V3 has come out. Is still high in my opinion. But the other qualities, it is a good scope. I've really enjoyed using it. Even just, you know, the reason this is off my gun right now is because we went out and I was using it as a monocular. And I can just snap it back on and it's back, you know, back to zero. So it has been a great scope in those aspects. I like the quick disconnect that it has. So some really, really great features. Will I get the V3? I know I probably will. I have been happy with this. If there's one thing I could change, it would just be these buttons on top. That actually can be very, very irritating when you're out there and you see a hog and you're trying to change something kind of quickly. It is not easy to use. I guess that's the only maybe the biggest downside that I have to this whole scope. You know, price-wise, in comparison to the one-leaf Mars that we use, I actually have several of those just because the price point makes it easy. I can get those scopes, get multiple of them, just leave them on the guns, and I actually can use those almost as a monocular. But quality-wise, this one is just a little bit better, but I do like the price points of those one-leafs. So I'll make a video on those too. Anyways, tell me what you think. Would you buy the AGM Rattler V2, or are you going to go ahead and get the V3? So let me know in the comments.